This beginner's guide to Maya's tools provides clear, focused instruction on three of Maya's most important tools: move, rotate, and scale. These tools form the foundation of nearly everything you'll do in Maya. Once you're comfortable with them, you'll be ready to follow more advanced tutorials without getting bogged down by basics. Now, it's important to note that this video is not designed to be passively watched like a lecture or demo. Instead, it's meant to be used while you are actively working in Maya. We begin by setting up your user interface to match the one used in this guide. Maya offers multiple ways to perform almost any action, which can quickly become confusing. By configuring your user interface, called the UI, to match ours, you'll stay oriented, avoid unnecessary detours, and build confidence step by step. You'll get the most out of this guide by following along in real time. Pause the video often. Try the actions yourself, and let each section guide your hand and eye, just as if an instructor were standing behind your shoulder offering live tips. The following steps to set up a UI are called out on the screen. At position 1, on the top far right, select the option called Basics Tutorial in the Workspace menu. At position 2, select the option called Modeling from the Menu Set menu. This menu is located at the far left on the second line of your UI. The option you choose here controls what appears in the main menu across the top of your screen. The first 7 tabs stay the same, but the remaining ones change to match the type of work you're doing. Try selecting a few different options in this menu set to see how the main menu changes. As a beginning Maya user, modeling is your best choice, but it is not essential. If you notice different settings in our screen captures, don't worry. It won't affect your progress. At position 3, select the option called Poly Modeling on the Shelf Modification menu. This menu appears as a 2-layer icon, just under the Menu Set menu. And at position 4, with your cursor hovering anywhere over the top 3 lines of your UI, scroll your mouse wheel back and forth. Notice how the poly modeling shortcuts disappear and reappear. Should your shortcut icons disappear while you're working, now you know how to get them back. Now, let's coordinate menu items. On the main menu, go to the Windows tab, select UI Elements, and finally select Show All UI Elements. Next on the main menu, go to the Display tab, then Polygons, then Faces, and select Centers. This selection places a dot on every polygon face. You'll understand why at the end of this guide. Now, return once more to the main menu. Go to the Windows tab, then Settings/Preferences, then Preferences. When you select Preferences, a new window pops up. On the resulting Preferences menu, scroll to Settings, then click Selection. In the menu to its right, find the heading Polygon Selection, and finally select Faces with Center, which I point out with a red arrow. This option requires that you use it as a target when selecting a polygon face, making the future face selection process easier. Now that your system should match this guide, let's examine polygons. Before each section of this guide, you need to completely clear and reset your UI by going to the main menu, selecting the File tab, then selecting New Scene. If there is something already in the viewport, finish by selecting Don't Save. Please remember these instructions. By resetting the viewport, we are assured that you in this guide are seeing the same thing. All work in Maya is done in the viewport. To get started, you need at least one object in the viewport, which for this guide is a polygon primitive cube. A polygon is an imagined 3D shape which has 3 distinct features: edges, faces, and points, which are called vertices, where the edges and faces meet. For Maya, the word primitive means the initial polygon. Use a primitive as a seed from which to build new objects. In this guide, we are only concerned with a 7-polygon scene under the main menu on the far left of the UI. These polygons are a sphere, a cube, a cylinder, a cone, a torus, which is also known as a donut, a plane, and a disk. If you are curious, you can find a list of additional polygon primitives on the main menu in the Create tab. when you select polygon primitives. Moving along, left-click on the cube shortcut to place it on the viewport. We will be using the cube throughout this guide, but as you become more knowledgeable, feel free to experiment with any polygon to see what happens. Generally, to place a new polygon primitive on the UI, you must first select a tool. At default, which is right now, the selection tool, which by number 1 is pre-selected. You can tell when a tool or text is selected because it is highlighted with a blue background. Every tool seen in the tool shortcut area is represented by a hotkey and an icon. If you have a question about which tool is in use, glance in this area to see which one is highlighted. In the outliner box, which is to the immediate right of the tool's shortcuts, a highlighted default name appears that identifies the polygon you added, which in this case is pCube1. The outliner box contains the name of every object placed in the viewport, with highlighted names meaning that they have been selected to be manipulated in the viewport, in this case at number 3. The first time any polygon, no matter what shape, is added to the viewport, it is automatically selected, which is demonstrated by its bright green outline with yellow corners. To deselect, click anywhere in the viewport outside of the object, at which point the image turns gray. To reselect it, either left-click directly on the object or click on its name in the outliner. Just make sure you click on the name itself, and not the icon to the left of the name. If you have trouble selecting a name, move your cursor so it is immediately above the name before you click. To get a closer look at the cube, you can manage the size of what you see by hovering your mouse in the viewport, then scrolling to enlarge or shrink it. Try it. Practice deselecting and reselecting the cube as well as adjusting the UI view. The next lesson is on managing viewport views. Before continuing, clear your viewport so we can start fresh. As you just learned, it is easy to enlarge or shrink your image by rotating your mouse's scroll wheel. To see your 3D image from any angle, all you have to do is press and hold your Alt key in combination with a specific mouse button. Let's go through these combinations one by one. Whether or not your cube is selected, press and hold Alt in combination with your left mouse button, then move your mouse. This lets you rotate your object completely around its default center, which is called its pivot point. You can see your object's default center in this example because when the polygon is first introduced into the viewport, half is above and below the grid. In the next section of this guide, we'll discuss how to move your object out of this position. But for now, simply observe how it looks. Next, press and hold Alt and your scroll wheel down together. Move your mouse and observe that your object, which is also called your scene, along with the grid move your object closer or further from your view. Last, press and hold Alt in combination with your right mouse button. Again, move your mouse and observe that your scene now moves in and out on a stable grid. This view mimics the action of a camera panning across a scene. Oops! If during your practice your viewport breaks into 4 windows, it means that you accidentally press your spacebar. Try it yourself. To return to a single viewport, press the spacebar again. Now clear your viewport and continue with the next lesson, which is on how to use your tools. All 2D and 3D animations processed in Maya are created by using 4 basic tools, all of which are called to action by hitting a hotkey or by clicking on an icon. Using hotkeys are the most convenient. Move hotkeys are represented by the first 4 keys on the top letter row of a common QWERTY keyboard. The general selection tool, called by pressing the letter Q, is used to select objects or components, but beyond selection, does not move anything. The Move tool, which is used to move your object around, is called by pressing the letter W. The Rotate tool, called by pressing the letter E, is used like a hinge, replicating an animated version of opening a door or bending a knee. And the Scale tool, called by pressing the letter R, enlarges or shrinks your object, either unilaterally or by sections. All movements, be they move, rotate, or scale, are related to three-dimensional directions, executed through the use of manipulators, which are handles on each tool's cursor that represent the Z, Y, and X axes. The Z-axis moves your object closer or further away from your viewer and is represented by the color blue. The Y-axis moves your object up and down and is represented by green. The X-axis moves your object left and right and is represented by red. Note that whenever you select an axis with a manipulator, its color changes to yellow. As a beginner, moving a primitive polygon like a cube is very abstract because the cube has no particular markings to distinguish its front or back. As you build 2D or 3D objects, however, directions become obvious. For now, the viewport creates the world or scene in which your object exists. Contained in an object are its components, such as an edge or face. Whether moving an object in a scene or an object's components, all moves are based on a point within the item's boundaries at the intersection of its three axes. This is called a pivot point. Let's see the move tools in action. Clear your UI if you haven't already done so and place a new cube in it. By default, it will be pre-selected, but if not, click on it. Next, press W to call the Move Tools cursor. Click and hold your left mouse button on any Move Tool manipulator and move it in the manipulator's suggested directions, noticing that the move is limited to those directions. The middle square in the cursor represents the object's center or pivot point. When you click, hold, and move it, you can move your object anywhere in the viewport's world. With the cube still selected, press E for the Rotate tool. Now, click, hold, and move any curved manipulator to rotate the object. All rotation revolves around the object's pivot point. Last, with the cube still selected, press R for the Scale tool. Click, hold, and move any of its manipulators to see what happens. When you click and hold in the middle, which is its pivot point, the entire object enlarges or shrinks. Spend time using the tools W, E, and R. When done, clear your viewport and we'll study how objects are selected. The more you use Maya, the more objects or characters accumulate in the viewport. When many objects are present, they are layered behind one another and are often completely hidden from view. To demonstrate layering, make sure your viewport is empty and then place 5 cubes in it while keeping an eye on the outliner. Every time an object is placed in the viewport, Maya identifies it by a default name in the outliner. When necessary in the future, these default names can be changed to something more meaningful by double-clicking on the name, which opens a field for you to enter your own version. As you can see, 5 cubes are named. Click W to select the W Move tool, then click on the name pCube5 to select it. The moment you select pCube5, the Move Tools cursor appears. We actually want pCube1 to be selected, but it is hiding in the stack of cubes. With the Move tool still active, click on the name pCube1 in the outliner. Strangely, nothing changes on the viewport because pCube1 is still hidden. To see pCube1, you need to move out of the stack to a new location. Press W for the Move tool, then use its manipulators to slide pCube1 to a new location. When successful, you'll see the original stack of cubes, which now contains only 4 cubes, plus pCube1 in the viewport. Continue selecting pCube2 to pCube4 and sliding them to new locations until you can see all 5 cubes separately in the viewport. Keep in mind that after you can fully see a cube, you can select it by directly clicking it with any of the Move tools or by clicking its name in the outliner. Note that you previously learned that you can change the view of your objects in the viewport when you press and hold Alt, plus your left, middle, or right mouse button to manipulate the view. At default, when you introduce a polygon to the viewport, the grid runs through your object's midpoint. To see this, place a new cube in the viewport, then rotate the view holding Alt and your left mouse button until you can fully see the grid's position. Now, press W for the Move tool, select the cube, if not already selected, and move it above the grid. Practice moving and changing the views of your objects. And now, on to our last section, which is about selecting components. This is the final section in our beginner's guide to Maya's tools. It provides just enough information to get you started with selecting and experimenting with components. Maya's move, rotate, and scale tools are used extensively to create and reshape 3D models. As you know, each tool comes with a distinctive manipulator cursor that lets you grab and transform objects and components. To select components, which are edges, vertices, or faces, first activate a tool. We suggest starting with the Move tool. Now, with your viewport cleared, a new cube placed in it and the Move tool activated, right-click and hold directly on the cube to bring up the marking menu. Focus on the top portion of the marking menu in the area where you see the options, edge, vertex, and face. While still holding your mouse button down, slide your cursor to the option you want, for example, edge, and then release. If you release too soon, the menu will close and you'll need to open it again. Once the component type is active, click on a cube's edge and your tool's cursor will appear on the object. Now with an edge selected, you can immediately use the Move cursor to pull edges around. Note that once a component is selected, you can switch tools, such as E for rotate or R for scale, without reopening the marking menu. If you've been actively following this on Maya, and we hope so, reopen the marking menu, then select the vertex component, which behaves similarly to the edge component, except now you'll click on a pink dot, which represents a corner. Face selection, however, works a bit differently. After selecting the face option, but before the face is actually selected, Maya displays a dot at the center of each face. We enabled the Show Dot option back in Section 1 of this guide. To select a face, click on a dot, at which time the selected face turns golden. To select multiple components at the same time, hold the Shift key while clicking additional edges, vertices, or faces. Manipulate the group with the tool you selected and observe how multiple selections behave. And that brings us to the end of the Beginner's Guide to Maya's Tools, written and produced by Karen Little, with support from me, Mike. Questions? Reach out to guide@tipsforlovinglife.com.